What is up, guys? It is Friday night. We're excited to get into this Week 6 matchup of the Baltimore Ravens and the Los Angeles Chargers, Glenn. Not San Diego
Don't
Chargers.
get it wrong.
Not La Jolla Chargers. Not anything else. LA Chargers. It's going to be really, really exciting. Glad you guys are joining us tonight. Welcome in. For those of you that are new, I am James Haskell, along with my co-host Glenn Martin, and we're here to preview this game for you and break it down. So normally what we do in these preview shows is where we like to start customarily is with who's going to be playing, right? So we get to the injury reports of each team. But before we get to that, I know this is live. A lot of you guys are probably already members of the 410 Sports Talk clan, if you will. But if you're new to the show, if you just found us, best way to support the show and stay up to date is go ahead and subscribe. It's really easy to do that. There's about 1 million subscribe buttons, I'm sure, on your screen somewhere. Just hit one of them and give us a like, things like that. But all right, Glenn, huge game this week.
Oh yeah, it's a big one.
I mean, the past few games we won in thrilling fashion, but outside of the Chiefs game, I mean, I think that we were supposed to win handily, right?
Pretty much every other game. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, except the Chiefs game.
Yeah. I mean, I think we were picked to win even the Denver game when they were 3-0, and the Ravens.
You know what? They were favorites. I think they were favored.
Who's that? Denver?
Yeah, I think they were favored.
Really?
But the point is, we knew and we felt like we were going to win. Which is the most important thing here was what we're really talking about.
Yeah.
So we felt like we were going to win by a large margin, and we ended up squeaking out wins, except the Denver game, of course. But in recent memory, this game, I feel like we are both much more on edge about, is I guess the way that I'll put it. So talk to me, Glenn, before we get into the context of this lineup or of the team. Initial 30,000 foot view thoughts of this game coming up.
Yeah, I mean, initially you look at it, these two teams both have Super Bowl aspirations. They're both right now in the top of the AFC and looking to. There's only one team that's going to get a first round bye now with the way they've changed it up and added an extra wild card team. So just the number one overall seed gets home field throughout and the first week bye. So every team is fighting for that, and that starts as early as week 1, but certainly is impacted in week 6. So both of these teams coming in expecting to win this game, and I think this is a big step because we have not had a meaningful playoff game in Baltimore in a very, very long time, right? So if they're going to be a playoff game, we're hopeful that we can do it in the confines of the bank, So I think this is the first step to. Are the Chargers for real? Are they a team that really needs to be taken seriously in the AFC, or is this typical Chargers team where they have spurts where they're hot, but ultimately when the season's over, they're really not a team that's competing for a championship? I think this might be a year where the Chargers are the real deal, but this is a huge step. Can they travel across the entire country, take on a Ravens team that has an MVP candidate at quarterback? And so I think this is a big game for really both sides, but even bigger for the Chargers because the Ravens at least have done it. They've had some playoff wins. They've done some things more recently. The Chargers are really looking to get out of the shadow of the Rams over in LA is the way I look at it. I can't hear you, Jimbo. Is that on my end?
No, that's me. My bad.
There we go. Okay.
I have a lot of the same feelings as you towards this game. It's going to be, if the Ravens can come out with a victory, even with all their injuries, I think that it will be a huge confidence builder for this team and wind in their sails, because I know that everyone's confident in next man up and want to get the Super Bowl and this, that, and the other. But that like in the back of John's, I don't know, maybe not. Maybe this is why John's one of the best head coaches in the NFL and others aren't. But they've got to be thinking about the fact that there's so many guys on IR. You know what I mean? And that this roster really, while it looks similar to what we envisioned, doesn't look 100% like we envisioned. That's for sure. So, if they can pull this game off, it's all full speed ahead, right? Like no more excuses. Not that they're making any anyway. I'm not saying that they are, but I think it really changes the mindset inside this team and in this locker room. So Yeah, just some initial thoughts there, but let's get right to the Chargers injury report. Now, I pulled something up. If you have something different, let me know. But to be honest with you, Glenn, one of the things that's scary is that they are healthy.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of guys who in the past have suffered, or have struggled with injuries. Talking about Joey Bosa, you're talking about Derwin James, even Austin Eckler to a certain point.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike Williams, obviously in college, had the back neck thing. And so they've had guys with problems, but right now they're looking good. So I have 4 people, Glenn, 4 people on their injury report.
Yeah.
2 that were limited and 2 that did not practice. So 2 players did not practice is what I have. Mike
Okay.
Williams and Drew Tranquil. So he had a
Mm-hmm.
chest. Mike Williams has a knee. Outside of that, they had 2 guys that were limited. Just the fact that that list is short is, is
Leaves
one
you
of
a little
those.
envious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're coming. That bus is loaded with healthy guys. So,
Yeah.
but as far as their injuries goes, other than Mike Williams, not too much to report, right? Like,
Well, I mean, it looks like they're going to likely be without linebacker Drew Tranquil. At least
yeah.
that's what I'm seeing. He is, if it matters, he is their third leading tackler. Derwin James leads the way.
And isn't
But
isn't Ken Murray already out?
yeah, and Kenneth Murray's out,
Yeah.
who of course was one of the guys that the Ravens were considering when they drafted Pat Queen. And he was the other guy that was kind of either one of those guys, and also the linebacker out of Texas Tech who ended up going to Seattle. I'm blanking on his name right now, but he's in Seattle now. But yeah, I mean, Drew Tranquil is their third leading tackler with 28 tackles on the season. But that right now looks to be their biggest guy, their guy that's out. Now, Nasir Adderley is their second leading tackler. And he had a limited participation. Is that what you saw?
Yeah. Yep.
So likely he's going to play, but still a little bit of a question mark there. And if they were to be out without their second and third leading tacklers, that certainly would impact them on the field. No doubt about that.
And they will have 3 hours less to recover. They will
That's
lose
right.
3 hours of their lives before
Just
the
flying.
game.
Yep.
That's right. So, yeah, what's up, Cakes? Good to see you in here. And we are live. I think somebody asked if we're live or not. Yeah, we're live.
Oh, yeah.
But all right. So what about on the Ravens side, Glenn? How are we looking? Because I think we're getting some reinforcements back this week.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the big names that are out shouldn't come as much of a surprise. Sammy Watkins still nursing back that hamstring that he injured last week, and Ronnie Stanley still dealing with the ankle. Looks like he's rehabbing. Hopefully he eventually gets well enough to get back out there. I still have my doubts on that. And then limited in practice today. It's listed as questionable for the game is Alejandro Villanueva, still dealing with the knee injury. Deshaun Elliott, the same goes for him, dealing with the quad. And Geno Stone as well. So the good thing is Elliott was a full participant in practice today where Villanueva was limited. I expect both to play. So while the Chargers are definitely the healthier team, the Ravens are getting healthier. And the biggest return to the field that we should all be excited about is Rashad Bateman.
Batman's in the building.
He is going to be playing. John Harbaugh said he expects him to play. Roman said he's going to be a bit on a pitch count. They don't want to throw him back into the fire week 1. So look for him to slowly be more integrated in the offense. But all reports are he looks good. He looks quick, looks physical, and continues to look that polished young receiver that he is. And with Sammy Watkins going out, it couldn't be better timing getting him back to the game.
Yeah, so that's interesting because at the all right, the questions are already starting. Let's go right to Cakes. And if any of you guys have comments or questions that you want guaranteed response to, just follow suit with Cakes here. If you decide to hop in a super chat, of course, we will respond. And now we'll try and respond to all of them, but that's a little bit unlikely. So Cakes Mitchell, Bateman over under 4 catches and 40 yards. I'm gonna say under on this is a tough one. I'm gonna say under on 4 catches, over on 40 yards.
You know what? I like that so much, Cakes. We're going to put that in our over-under competition this week. I think it's a great one because I think there's a lot of
tough one.
There's a lot of intrigue. Yeah, like first of all, how many snaps does he get? How many targets does he get? Is he a part of the game plan in any way, whether it's just a single play or full integration? I would be surprised if it was the latter, but I think that there's definitely a shot that they could draw something up for him. I don't know. So that's a tough one for me. listen on to the end of the show when we have our over under. I'll certainly give you a better one there. But man, that's such a tough call because we just don't know what type of snap count he's going to be on this week.
Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see. I agree with you though that Roman can say whatever he wants. I do think they want to get him involved early, maybe not often throughout this game, but just get, it's like when you take your first hit, right? Like just get him out there, get his first hit, get his first catch, get those things under his belt. That way he can start rocking and rolling, right? Like that's what you want, and I think they get that out of the way early. But I kind of want to change. Before you finish going through this list, I have a quick question that has come to mind.
Yeah.
That I got to know your opinion on here, Glenn. I would like you guys to comment as well. Somebody is apparently upset by the farmer in the Dell whistle.
The what?
The Omar farmer in the Dell whistle.
Who's upset?
Somebody wrote a letter. Somebody from Havre de Grace wrote a letter to the Baltimore Sun explaining why the Ravens should not be glorifying the character that is Omar Little.
Okay.
I think it's ludicrous. I would like to know your thoughts.
I think it's silly. It's a TV show.
It's a fictitious thing. It's not real.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit silly. I really do. But I guess I could see. It's not like they're. I guess I could see somewhat of a point there, if in the sense that you don't want to glorify. I mean, look, Omar did some bad things on that show, right? I mean, he did some crazy bad things. So I guess I can see somewhat, but I think that's nitpicking, and it's kind of really silly in my opinion.
It seems like to me somebody that has too much time on their hands, and it was too much like I'm the old man, get off my lawn type situation.
Yeah, they're looking for something to be enraged about and hoping that people jump on. But
anyway, just wanted to get your quick thoughts there. I was curious. Thought maybe I was the only one that felt that way, but yeah. Did you see Don C? Feeling happy can read and write? Just joking.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit silly. But
yeah,
anyway, I didn't even hear about that.
Yeah, so an investigative reporter from the Sun tweeted the letter today.
Okay.
And I thought it was, it's not real. Plus, Michael K. Williams, after the wire, did do a lot for the community here in Baltimore. He called it a second home. He absolutely loved it here. He came back here a lot. And I think that's worth, honoring. Right.
Yeah.
And so anyway, but all right, let's get back to it. Who else, do we have anyone else on our injury? I know we just talked about Bateman coming back. Anyone else of consequence? Like you said, I think Alejandro plays. Do you think that we actually see the Joker back this week?
I think he will. He's practiced in full. So, that would be shocking to see. I think
I thought he was back last week.
Yeah, but last week there was limited participation in practice. I think they were just worried. They didn't want to be something that he's forced to miss practice throughout the rest of the year because he keeps re-injuring it or, just re-aggravating it. So the one guy I'm kind of curious to see what they do with is Tyree Phillips. Like when he comes back, he slid in there at left guard after the injury to Ben Cleveland? Do they continue to trot Ben Powers out there and just give him, full reign on that job? Or do they say Tyree Phillips is probably a better player than Ben Powers? That's the big one to me. And then also, do they feel like do they really switch things up? Put Tyree Phillips at right tackle and even maybe consider sliding Macari into left guard. I think there's a lot of decisions. I would be surprised if they did that one because Macari has at least been better than anyone would have expected at right tackle. And I'm not so sure if Tyree Phillips would be an upgrade there, but watch that left guard spot. I'm not so sure Ben Powers' job is safe.
Yeah, that is going to be a really interesting one to see how that's managed. So I agree with you there. All right. So we've talked about what the potential lineups will be for these teams based on health. Let's get into the matchups, the Chargers defense against the Baltimore Ravens offense. And so let's talk about it. Now, before we do that, Glenn, I'm hoping that, I want you to break down this Chargers defense and what you see and stats and things like that. But one thing I want to mention really quick that's really interesting for me going into this week is we have no idea what our offense is really going to be this week. Honestly, we have no idea. You're talking about historically the best run game in however many years, and Lamar's throwing the ball around like he's playing in the backyard. So really, it's got to be tough this week if I'm the Chargers to prepare, because I think the most dangerous offense is a very flexible offense that can do a myriad of things. So going to be really interesting. But when I was thinking about this game this week and over-unders and what to look out for, I was like, man, we really don't know what it's going to look like, So anyway, let's get into this Chargers defense, talk about who they got, some stats and stuff like that. What you got, Glenn?
All right, so they rank 19th in the league in yards given up. They've given up 1,859 so far, 6 yards per play on the season. And then forcing turnovers, they rank 9th. They forced 7 turnovers so far this year. So not bad there if you're in the top 10 in that area. As far as against the pass, they're 7th in the league, giving up just 1,071 yards through the air this year, and only 8 touchdowns through the air. So doing pretty well in that category. But where they're not doing so well, of course, is defending the run. They're 32nd, dead last in the league. They've given up 788 yards on the ground and 5 touchdowns as well. So it makes you wonder, like, are they really, a top 5 or a top 6, pass defensive team, or are they just so poor against the run that teams are choosing to just continue to run the ball and not pass it? Because why would you? When you're having such success on the ground. So they're definitely a team that can be gotten on the ground if you have the team to do it. And in theory, you would think that the Ravens certainly could take advantage of a team who's poor against the run. But as of late, Jimbo, I don't know what the hell is going on with our run attack, because it looks non-existent.
Yeah, it's weird, man. That's why I'm saying I really don't know what's going to happen in this matchup, man, because at some point the run game can just go back to normal, or at least what we expected to be, some semblance of what we expected to be this year before all the injuries, and just start humming, right? And like, I expect that to happen anytime, but also, I mean, it's struggling. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I literally have no idea what our offense is going to look like this week. What about some guys to look out for on the defensive side of the ball? Now, this is interesting. We normally do one guy, but this week, I think we should do more than one.
Yeah, I think that's fair to do it this week. There are 2 guys. Starting up front is Joey Bosa. The guy is just absolutely disruptive. He's a game wrecker. He's got 2.5 sacks this year. But the story really is more in that he's got 2.5 sacks, but that's with the offensive line's full attention. So he's a guy that can certainly beat a double team. He can wreck the pass game as well as the run game. He's super athletic, super heavy-handed. He's got polished pass rush moves. The guy is just an absolute freak of nature athletically. And his past, he's had issues staying on the field. Well, this year he hasn't had those issues. Started and played in all 5 games, and has been effective in all 5. But the good thing is he's really alone up front as far as a pass rush threat. Not a ton of guys around him that really scare you. They do have some nice, they got Linval Joseph, who's a good run stuffer on the inside as their D tackle. But if you can slow down Joey Bosa and you can double team him because you can single up everyone else, then you have a chance to slow them down, because of course they lost Melvin Ingram to the Steelers. So he doesn't have that guy opposite him that forces you to respect him as well. So look for Joey Bosa up front. I'm sure that comes as no shock. And then Derwin James, a guy that Ravens fans are still, Jimmy, not over, and I don't blame them. The fact that the Ravens took Hayden Hurst and they could have had Derwin James and Lamar Jackson in the same draft in the first round.
Insane.
Mind-blowing to think about what those guys could be doing. I mean, you talk about Derwin James is just, he's got it all, right? He's stocky, he's strong, he's built, but he can fly and run like he's smaller than he is. He can do everything. He can blitz. He's got a 1.5 sacks this year. He can guard. He can guard in the slot. He can guard your tight end. Last week, he led their team in tackles with 17 tackles. I mean, so the guy can just do absolutely everything. He's instinctual. Look out for him, because this guy can absolutely change a game. They got 2 guys that can absolutely wreck you if you allow them to. So be on the lookout for those 2, because they're going to be making plays. It's just hopefully they don't make too many plays.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll get into the offensive side of things, and I want to talk about where we are statistically, but I want to start with our rankings, and I want to ask you a question, Glenn. I don't know if you've looked. If you have, then I would ask for your integrity. But if you haven't, what do you believe our passing, offense is ranked? That side of the offense is ranked right now in the NFL.
I don't know the rank, but I believe I know what we average per game. I think it's somewhere like 293, or that might
Mhm.
be Lamar's average. I think maybe we're over 300, maybe like 302 for the year, something like that.
So
But I
give me a
don't know the
rank.
rank.
Give me a guess.
Uh, it's pretty good. I'm going to say 7.
6.
Wow.
Man, how much money would you have lost at the beginning of the season if somebody said, I will bet you X amount of dollars that the Baltimore Ravens will be in the top 6 for
Mm.
passing yards per game by week 6?
Yeah, I would have been absolutely stunned.
It's just
And I think if JK and Gus here, we may still not be in the top 6,
yeah.
but out of necessity, they have totally revamped this
It's
offense.
incredible. And then on top of that, to get to our offense as well, the rushing attack average wise, we're still 4th. So we're still in the top 5
But
overall
plummeting,
offensively.
though.
Yeah,
Plummeting.
plummeting certainly, but overall, our offense is ranked 4th in the NFL. But look, I'll say this: even if that goes down a little bit, I've said it before, and we've talked about it before. Harmonious is harmony is the perfect word that JT O'Sullivan said, and that's what I'm sticking by. I think that shows a lot of harmony. Now that doesn't mean that each game he said it, the way he described it, doesn't mean it's 25-25. It's not like a play count. You need to have this balance, but it's working together. And sometimes this person has a solo and that person doesn't, you know what I mean? So right now the lead dog is the passing game. That doesn't mean it's going to be that way forever. So anyway, let me get to some stats here as far as our Baltimore Ravens go.
Okay.
But offensively, while I pull this up, Glenn, you talked about those defensive guys. So I want to focus on this matchup. How do we, as an offense, mitigate the impact of those two players that you talked about? Like, how do we try and take their impacts and their game recognizability out of the game?
Yeah, so with Bosa, the only thing you can do is you double team the guy, you make it hard on him, you chip him with a running back, chip him with a tight end. You just keep throwing different bodies at him and keep him off balance. You don't want to be in a situation where you're single blocking Joey Bosa. I don't care. I mean, unless it was a healthy, 100% healthy Ronnie Stanley, then you might feel okay about it. Other than that, you're not feeling good. I don't care who's out there on our offensive line. He can wreck the game. So you got to double him. You got to make him a focus every play, find out which, if they want to move him around. Now, luckily, he's been a guy who's really stayed on the outside. He hasn't been, a lot of people predicted he'd go inside and be a force and they'd move him all around. He's really stayed on the outside, which makes it a little bit easier. It's more predictable, where he'll be. But doubling him, chipping him, and throwing all different bodies at him, keep making him work hard, is really all you can do. As far as Derwin James, the biggest thing is finding out where he is because they confuse you a lot. They'll use him in many different roles. They'll put him in the deep third. Yep. They'll put him in the slot. They'll put him over your tight end. They'll bring him down in that robber in the middle of the defense. They'll put him anywhere and everywhere to confuse you and take most advantage of his talents. So the biggest thing is just finding where Derwin James is pre-snap every play. And hope he doesn't catch you sleeping because he's going to try and confuse you. He's going to come down the box, and then as the ball snaps, sprint back. He's going to do the opposite. He's going to try and keep you guessing, and hopefully Lamar can keep an eye on him and make sure he doesn't wreck the play.
Yeah, absolutely. And the way that I see us mitigating them has to do with my defensive key of the game. So after I go over these stats, I'm gonna give you my answer to that question. But I want to get to Michael real quick, one of our patrons and faithful viewers of the show. Shout out to Michael. Jumping ahead a little bit, so talking about the Ravens defensive and the Chargers offensive matchup there, but we'll address it. We'll allow it, Michael. We'll allow it.
So kind.
Yeah. Put Marlon on Allen and double team Mike Williams. This is funny, Glenn, because I saw a lot of comments about this in our other preview video with the guy from the Chargers Wire. You and I were having this exact conversation last night. Like, how do we address these two guys now that we know what our cornerback room is? We know Anthony Averett is coming off a tough game. You have a guy like Jimmy Smith who called himself a mercenary, right? Like just kind of ready to be deployed depending on the situation. So I'll say this, as far as Michael's take, I would like to see Marlon Humphrey on Keenan Allen for a decent amount of time as well. But as far as Mike Williams goes, yeah, like, shading and helping with a safety and stuff like that is fine. I think you have more reservations about this than I, but I want to see him and Jimmy go at it. I do until he beats Jimmy and really shows that Jimmy can't handle it. I think he's got enough gas in the tank to to be utilized in this game at a higher than normal pitch count, not on a regular basis, but in this game specifically, based on the size and skill set of Mike Williams. I think it's a perfect matchup for a guy like Jimmy Smith to do well. So that's how I kind of want to see that done. What's your take on Michael, and how do you want to see us try and stop these two guys?
Yeah, I think Michael is dead on here. I think the difference between these two guys is, I mean, obviously they have different skill set, but most importantly is how the team is using them. And they're
Yeah.
using Mike Williams more as their deep threat. He's got 6 touchdowns to Keenan Allen's 1. And he's got 50% more in his yards per catch than a Keenan Allen does. Keenan Allen's at 10, Mike Williams at 15. So to me, it makes a lot of sense to double team Mike Williams with a safety over top. And yeah, if Jimmy has it in him, because I don't want to run Jimmy into the ground, we need Jimmy. But if he has it in him, he'd be perfect in that role of being the corner that checks him off the line of scrimmage and can play more of the under routes because you got safety help over the top.
Yeah, aren't you shaking in your boots a little bit if Anthony Averett, little Anthony Averett, who's played well, is lined up against the monster that is Mike Williams?
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to disrupt him much from a physical standpoint. Now, I'd prefer him if it's a foot race over Jimmy Smith because Averett certainly has him beat there. But if you have a safety over the top, as a corner, you can just play it so much, more comfortably. You know that he's not going to be able to just run by you and score the 60-yard touchdown. They're looking to get him behind your defenders. And so with Keenan Allen, he's a little different. He's more of a tactician, route running expert, maybe the best route runner in football. It's, certainly up there in the conversation. Also has incredible hands, body control, great around the boundary, always gets his feet in. I mean, he's just a sensational player.
Yeah.
I would love to see, I can't wait to see that Marlon and Keenan Allen matchup, because the big thing with Marlon is, the only knock on him really is that if you throw the deep ball over his head, he'll have, issues locating it sometimes. So not have to really worry about that much with Keenan Allen. They don't look to get him the ball in that way. They look to allow his explosive route running to get him open and do more timing routes and stuff like that. So I like the matchup with Keenan Allen. Obviously, I like most matchups when Marlon Humphrey's guarding him. And I know some people are saying he's having a bit of a down year. To me, Marlon Humphrey is still Marlon Humphrey, and I'll take him over almost every other corner in the league.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm biased. He's to me, he's the best corner in the NFL based on the fact that just this alone, a lot of people are counting on and betting that Marlon Humphrey will erase the efforts of what we're calling one of the best route runners in the NFL, equalize his efforts in this game, right? To make them a wash. In today's rules, in today's environment, today's NFL, to do that is insane. I mean, don't you agree? Just to be able to do that, it's incredible to me to say. And our defense, we're not playing a cover 3. We're not playing we're not doing this zone stuff. It's Marlon. This is your guy. Yep. It's 1-on-1.
You got no help.
That's right. Beat him, or contain him, or he beats you, and that's it. So tough task. I think he's the best corner in the league. But I do want to review really quickly, go back to our offense versus their defense, and I want to give our keys to the game. But before we, offensively speaking, I just want to give a couple stats, and we talked about them earlier. Right now, we're averaging 27 points a game, and that is trending up. So definitely really, really excited. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game, so I wouldn't be surprised if this average goes up even more into the 30s in the coming week. Passing yards, you talked about this, Glenn. We're averaging a shade under 292, 291.8. And then rushing yards, it's funny because we feel like we haven't had that good of a rushing streak. Our average, I think, was like 158 and then 153, and it's only gone down to 148.8, so 149 essentially. So still, from an average standpoint, we're doing good. But I want to say this is my offensive key to the game. Stats out the window. I think the way that you mitigate a guy like Bosa, the way that you mitigate this defense, where the Chargers wire guy kind of told on himself and said that their coach's defensive scheme is very defensive back heavy. Okay, that's fine. So what they could potentially do is just like we saw years ago, maybe corral Lamar Jackson more and stop some of the explosive stuff that he does with his feet. Okay, that's fine. But let's have Colon Castillo coming in, as the eligible guy, and let's get heavy on the offensive line. I don't know if you saw the Tyson Fury fight I'm not here to give my opinion as to who I like or don't like, who I thought won, or or who I thought should have won, whatever. My point is that Tyson Fury was 40 pounds heavier, and every single time they got within 3 feet of each other, he leaned on him the whole time and said, dude, you got to handle my weight for 11 rounds. If the Ravens lean on these guys, punch them in the mouth, play after play, bruise them up, get them second guessing before they see 63 again, they see 77 again. I'm like, dang it, another 320 pounder in my face. I'm sick of this. I can't take it anymore, right? So I think that we beat them up. We punch them in the mouth, and this would be the game to me that our rushing attack gets back on track, methodical, maybe not the fun, high-powered, chuck it down the field all over the place type offense we've become accustomed to, especially in the last game. But I think that's what gets the job done, and that's how you mitigate a guy like Joey Bosa, even Derwin James, get him stuck in the wash of the bay of 300 pounders, right? Like get him, get Bradley Bozeman's hands on him or whoever else, right? But I think we beat him up, and we really make them think twice before they, go and throwing their bodies around. So that's my offensive key of the game. Beat them up. What about you?
Okay. Yeah, I hope you're right there. Sometimes they can use that speed to get around the bigger guys,
Right.
and hopefully the Ravens can use that size advantage. But to me, all year, Jimbo, this team has been a slow starting offense, and it's been a bad third down offense. I mean, last 2 weeks in a row, they both started didn't convert any third downs in the first half. I mean, that is just bad news. I mean, yeah, third downs, I should say, in the first half. We were 0 for 4 in the Broncos game to start the game, and 0 for 4 last game. So the biggest thing that I see that jumps out at me between these two teams is those conversion rates. The Ravens, since Lamar's been here, we were one of the very best in the league. I mean, he was our third down cheat code. It didn't matter if you covered the back end because he'll just take off and get it with his legs. And if you oversold on stopping him to do that, then he'll just throw it over your head. But this year, they've been bad at it. I mean, 34% third down conversion rate. And just to give you a comparison, the Chargers are at 48%. So a damn near half of their third downs, they convert. And that doesn't even begin to talk about what they do on fourth down. They went for it on fourth down last week at their own 24. They're 7 out of 8 on the season on fourth down, 87% on fourth down. So to me, it just comes down to, can the Ravens find a way to get it done on third down more, really in the first half? Because they've done a good job in these comebacks of getting it done in the second half. But, man, in the first half, I mean, they can't buy a third down. It doesn't matter if it's 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 7. They can't seem to get it no matter what the distance is. So, to me, it's all about what's their conversion rate, because the Chargers are going to score points. There's just no way around it. You might get a stop here or stop there, but you're going to have to score points if you're going to beat the Chargers, and that's going to come down to third down. You got to be able to move the chains on third down. And Michael says we can't start slow. I see another close shootout. He's 100% right, because they're going to score points, and the Ravens have to keep pace and hope they get a couple of key stops. Maybe they confuse Herbert, maybe something like that to slow them down. But the Ravens have got to put up points. They got to score touchdowns, not field goals. And a lot of that is converting on third down.
Yeah, I think that's a great one, Glenn. Super insightful there. All right, so we're going to switch over to the other side of the coin. Now, we kind of jumped ahead and talked about the Marlin wide receiver matchup, but I want to address that matchup as a whole, our defense against their offense. Obviously, Herbert is humming. Our defense is not as customarily dominant as we've seen in the past. But before we do, Glenn, I want to talk about something exciting. All right. We have a new partner in the show, new partner and sponsor of the show, Symbol, guys. Symbol, Simbull. Symbol simply is the stock market for sports. All right. So if you are like me, Glenn and I have had these conversations. I have a lot of money in the stock market. I have a lot of money in crypto. And, I don't know too much about any of those things except what I read on CNBC, Wall Street Journal, and what I read from Justice Hill's Twitter as far as crypto. But what I do know is I know sports. I mean, you and I can sit there and it's our language. It is what it is. We can switch from sport to sport, back and forth, talk history, talk, projections with pretty much anyone, right? And so the really cool thing about Symbol is that it gives you the opportunity to project the future. And so something that I'm really excited to announce is 1 hour partnership with them. And you guys can get $10 to hop into Symbol and get on their platform right now. It's really simple. I'm gonna put up the URL here in a second. Once I can find it. We are without DK tonight, so I'm feeling like
we need you, DK.
I know I'm flying a little blind here. I'm gonna. Oh, here we go. There it is. /4410. So you'll get $10 to start. But the really cool thing that I think is going to be awesome is we're going to do we have $500 that we've put in the pot for 410 Sports Talk, and we want to do it with you guys. Really excited to do this. So basically our goal is the winnings we make from our $500, we're going to take and we're going to put on an event, something special for you guys, our faithful, and can't wait to do that with you guys. So we want to pick the teams just like you would pick your stocks, so with you guys. So we're going to do that really quickly. I'm going to pull up our portfolio. We have no teams right now. Remember, this is how you win. You just like the stock market, you buy low, sell high. The difference, you make the earnings. And then for just like a dividend in stocks, every win for every share, for every win your team gets, you get 50 cents. So there's an ability for, us to make a few shekels, Glenn, as you like to say, right?
We fully intend to pass these winnings on to the fans.
Yep.
Like Jimmy said, maybe an event, or maybe we realize we have a lot of fans that aren't necessarily in the Baltimore area. So we want to try and come up with a creative way.
Yeah, like a virtual happy hour or something, right?
We'll figure something out to pass those winnings on to you guys. But I'm just glad that that Don C is relieved to know that this isn't an advertisement talking about balls, as he said it. This
right.
isn't a manscaping. But I will say this, Don C. If Manscaped calls, it's gonna be.
Yeah, it's gonna be on the show, my man.
I mean, it's gonna be hard to
keep the lights on.
It'd be hard to be like, you know what? Well, look, I tell you what, we won't use the word balls. I mean, maybe, but so we're gonna find a way. Christopher Shook's putting a mention in there. I think if we can come up with something good to make sure everyone can celebrate and
we're
feel
open
like
to any suggestions.
Yeah, exactly. Because we understand if we have like a live event, it's probably going to be hard for most of you guys to get out here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we'll think of something.
So just really quickly, I want to run through this, guys. You'll see here on the screen our, the current stock price, and please go do it on your own. Use the /410, get $10. Use the code that's down at the bottom. But as far as ours goes and our winnings, what we want you to do is come up with a few teams that right now you see low. Like, for example, the Texans are the cheapest team in the NFL right now to purchase. The most expensive is the Bills at $63 a share. The Texans are $30 a share. So what I want you guys to do, based on trends you see, we want to do two things. For immediate earnings, we want as many wins as possible. And then for future earnings, we want teams that we can buy low now, that we can sell high on later. So the Texans might be worth it, Glenn. For example, are there any guys that are looking good coming out of the draft? Because by the end of the season, if they lock up the number 1 pick, that their stock price is going to jump up. So if we buy low mid in the season, if there's a solid guy coming out number 1 and they have number 1 pick, and he's a quarterback, whatever the case may be, that price is definitely going to jump. So do this, guys. We're not going to stay on this screen right now. What we want you to do is we want you to give us your names in the comments. We're going to take notes. Glenn and I are going to take this money, invest it according to what you guys have put down, what we've thought, and collectively in our post game, we'll see how the numbers are looking every week, and we'll do this every week. We'll revisit it shortly. But excited to work with Symbol. Make sure you check it out. Use the code down at the bottom /410. Look at the screen. Take a screenshot if you need to. And let's do this thing. But give us some names in the chat, guys. Give us some names of some teams that we can buy low and sell high. What are your trends? What are you feeling? Let us know. All right. That's enough airtime for our sponsor.
That's it. Let's get back to it. So when we're talking about the defensive side, we haven't talked about our defensive, our keys yet, right? Did you want to give the defensive numbers for the Baltimore Ravens?
Yeah, I can definitely do that. That's no problem. I got them right here in front of me. So ranking wise, our defense is 22nd in the NFL. So certainly not ideal, not where we wanted to be.
No.
And as far as the counting numbers, we're giving up 23.5 points a game. In addition to that, passing wise, so we're allowing 296 passing yards a game. And let's see how many touchdowns we've already given up. Touchdowns, 15 touchdowns on the season. Oof. And yeah, that's a tough one. And then rushing yards per game, 93. So still under 100. Yeah. But look, I worry about our defense.
Yeah, me too. And I think the rest of the Ravens flock worries as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they are just, and what's sad and what's surprising to me, Jimbo. I get it when, I get these passing numbers when you see, because they had such a costly loss when Marcus Peters went down. But when I see teams running the ball effectively on us, it really burns me up because
do you get a bee in your bonnet?
I get a bee in my bonnet because we're relatively healthy in the front seven. I mean, there's really not
no
a lot
excuse.
Outside of Derek Wolfe, who we agree is a loss. There's no doubt about it. If he was playing, I think we'd be better off. But we thought that the Metabike and Broderick Washington could kind of, uplift that spot and maybe take over for Derek Wolfe, who we all know is, he's getting older. So these guys eventually will have to take over. And we just thought maybe that timeline was pushed up a little bit with the injuries. But the linebacking play has been so poor. I mean,
putrid, not poor. You know what they are, Glenn? They're porous.
There you go. They are absolutely porous.
Run through. I mean, they're like my son's diapers when he destroys them. I mean, just
you gotta get them. What are they called? The Huggies. Anyway, but that's the part that shocks me is the fact that teams have been able to be a bit of a dual threat. They've been able to run the ball and pass the ball. Now, there's been some games where, like the Colts game, if you look at the numbers, he did most of his damage, with his receiving. Like if you just look at Jonathan Taylor's rushing numbers from that game, It doesn't jump out at you. But it just seems like the Ravens haven't been able to get any of the big stops that they've gotten in the past on 3rd and short, 4th and short. And they haven't been able to get guys or teams into long 2nd and 3rd downs. They've been forced into short yardage situations in the 3rd down, which then teams can do whatever the hell they want. At least if you got them at 3rd and long, that they have to eliminate some things from their playbook. They can't just call anything. Well, if you're 3rd and 2, you can pretty much call anything you want. So that's really the part that's been surprising to me is that I thought our run defense would be just fine when you consider all the guys that are already there and healthy. And, they bring in a guy like Oweh, who, while we understand he's a raw player in his pass rush and all, he's a fantastic run defender in college. So we thought that would certainly at least translate. And then the rest of the guys, you kind of know what to expect from those guys. And I know they're getting their enforcer back, or at least that's how Wink calls him, Jimbo. And I know you're excited to have him back, is Jalen Ferguson. That's their enforcer, he said. That's what he called him, Jimbo. He's an enforcer on the edge, Jimbo. Do you think that helps? Do you think that puts us over the edge?
No, come on, man. What edge? He's round. No edges on that guy. What are you talking about? He can't set an edge. Come on. The dude, I told you, he's still lost in his belly button looking for jelly beans. Come on, man. Gosh, dang it. I'm done with Jalen Ferguson. Ugh. No, does nothing for me. I'm glad he's healthy, but this does nothing for me from a football perspective. Nothing.
Yeah. Okay. So are you concerned with Eckler coming to town?
Yes.
When you see what he can do? Okay.
Yes, very. Patrick Queen. Yeah, he needs to rebound this game. I think that there's a chance that we see Bynes active. He'll give him a lesson on tackling with his with his whole being, not just his forearms or whatever he tries to do. He throws everyone down. Yeah, I can't. All right. Anyway,
let me give you some offensive numbers from the Chargers that might make you a little bit more scared. I hate to do it to you, Jimbo. I hate to, but they're 3rd in the league in passing yards with 1,515 thus far. He's also got 13 touchdowns to just 3 interceptions. So he's slinging the ball around a little bit, Jimbo, which I'm sure has you a little nervous. He's got a 67% completion percentage, so right there where you would hope to be if you're a Chargers fan or coach. And then on the ground, 17th, have 542 yards thus far on the season with 5 rushing touchdowns. But the thing you look for is yards per carry, and Austin Eckler's at 5.2 yards per carry right now on the ground. That's got me extremely scared. He's so quick. He's so shifty. His nickname is pound for pound. That's because he's got an argument. He could say he's the most dangerous pound for pound player. I mean, the guy can do it all. He can run between the tackles, obviously run on the outside, and then he can line up in the slot and be a very talented pass catching option for your quarterback. I mean, the guy is just a sensational player. It's funny. I remember when he was backing up Melvin Gordon for a few years and always thinking that Austin Eckler was just being held back by his role.
Yep.
Well, now there's nobody challenging him for that top spot, and unless there's an injury there, he's going to continue to get the bulk of the carries and the targets out of the backfield, and just really be their bell cow in every way. So, man, he is scaring the absolute bejesus out of me.
Yeah.
What
LJ Fort would be great to have this week. Great open field tackler. Really quickly, Fabian, it's not the reason that I'm hard on Ferguson is really simply because he's very talented. He has all the physical gifts and he's done nothing with them. Look, I mean, he spends no time in the weight room. That's very apparent. I don't care what any coach or himself says about if you spend time in the weight room, you look like Odafe Owe. You don't look like Jalen Ferguson. You know, he's got anyway. So it's the waste of talent that bothers me, not the lack of talent.
Yeah. And that's always been the case for both of us, really.
Yeah, because I'd rather see a guy that's less talented get every ounce out of everything he has than a guy that's got it all in the world and rests on his laurels.
And you know why, guys? Just to peek behind the curtain. I'll tell you why. Because if Jimmy was about 10 inches taller,
10 inches!
The world would have been in trouble. The world would have been in big, big trouble. Jimbo, imagine if you were 6'3".
Dude, I would be such a jerk. I would be dunking on everyone, just talking so much trash. Oh my, just for no reason, just because I can, man. Like,
yeah. And this is why Jimmy is so upset, because if he had the physical talents that that Jalen was just born with, he would take full advantage of those physical talents. Because let me tell you, Jimbo has gotten the most out of that his frame that he can get. I mean, he's pushed it to its limit.
Still pushing it to his limit.
Still pushing it. So I think that's what bothers him, is that he just, we just don't feel like he's taking full advantage of his opportunity, of his potential. His gifts. I mean, you got to get out, you got to work, and we every year he comes in, he's got a little spare tire around his stomach.
He looks the same.
Yeah, we just wanted to see, and we want to see progression, and we just haven't seen it from him.
Yeah, but the offense certainly scares me, and this is how the offense scares me. Normally, just like the defense, we do one player to look out for. We did 2 this game defensively. We did 3 this game offensively, and one of them isn't even Justin Herbert.
Yeah, no,
because that's like a foregone conclusion that of course you have to look out for Justin Herbert. So you have Eckler, who you talked about. You have Williams, and you have Keenan Allen. We kind of talked about how, so I don't want to spend too much time there. We talked about how we're going to address those guys. How do you see the Ravens defending Austin Eckler? We talked about the wide receivers, but is it just simply saying tackle better? Is there something strategically that they can do different? I mean, do they say Chuck Clark? What, you know what I mean? Like, do they get Chuck Clark involved in this more and bring him down in the box more often? What can they do?
That's the tough part, because we talked earlier about how you're going to have to double team one of those guys on the outside. Likely it's going to be Mike Williams because of his big playability. But then that means, who you gonna guard Eckler with? You definitely don't want to have Pat Queen on him, because he's gonna run himself out of the play and look silly. And then even if he is in the play, what confidence do you have that he'll be able to tackle Austin Eckler and avoid those yak yards that we saw Jonathan Taylor just go crazy on the Ravens last week? I mean, you're 3rd and 15. You're throwing a screen pass. You're almost giving up. It's a great play call and all, but you're kind of like saying, I don't want to risk the ball too much. Let me dump it down to him. If we make a couple guys miss, first down, great. If not, we'll punt and live to fight another drive. He turned that up for 76 yards, and it wasn't even touched. I mean, so that's what has me concerned is his run after catch. Eckler's going to have opportunity to make guys miss, and if the Ravens continue tackling the way they have been, man, he could be running a long, long way. So I'm not really sure how they're going to do it. I think Chuck Clark hopefully is in it, because I think he's been our most consistent tackler, And so I'm hopeful he's a part of it, but he could be a part of the double team on the outside. I mean, I think you just got to kind of try and throw different things at it. But one thing I don't want to see him lined up on the outside. He'd come motion out of the backfield.
And
they
then
see
number
that Pat
6
Queen
calling him.
They see Pat Queen follow him. They know he's in man coverage, and they just start licking their chops because
what does Shaq call it? Barbecue chicken, right?
Barbecue chicken is what they're going to be seeing. And look, maybe Pat Queen has a game where he revives his season and starts playing the way they expected him to when they took him in the first round. But if he keeps playing the way he has been, it's going to be scary out there, no doubt about it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So really quickly, sorry, Fabian, I seem to be picking on you tonight, and I understand your concern as far as blaming Rob Ryan for this poor linebacker play, because the entire linebacking crew seems to be, at least middle linebackers, like, yeah. But at the end of the day, we've put faith in these young guys. To me, is what it really is. Rob Ryan couldn't get through one play in the NFL. He's a coach. These guys need to be out there on the field doing their job. I think that Patrick Queen's whole season would be different if he just tackled, just finished the play. Even with all of his other glaring weaknesses, he's good enough athletically that where he can just tackle, it would make his game so much more consistent and so much better. He would be able to rely on him so much more as a defense. You got to tackle. Like, that's rule number 1. He's got the other stuff. He's got the speed. He's got the instincts and things but he's got to tackle. So I don't think you can blame that on Rob. That's just my opinion. I understand that we want him coaching these guys up, giving them confidence, but I don't know how much you can blame that on Rob.
Yeah, I mean, I think Rob deserves some of the blame in that, he looked better as a rookie than he does now. But, at the same time, they used LJ Fort to cover up a lot of his shortcomings. They don't have that option this year. I think that, last year there wasn't necessarily a book on him. Now the defense or offensive coordinators know what he struggles at, and they can use that against him. So while I agree, I think Rob Ryan, he deserves some criticism. He deserves some blame. But when they asked Wink about it, it didn't seem like he was going to put any on Rob, and he was going to put the blame squarely on the shoulders of the guy actually in between the lines and playing. But as far as you can really only criticize him there because he's not the outside linebacker coach. He's only about the inside linebacker. So
right.
You can't criticize him about I just saw somebody. I must have missed something in the chat here.
Oh, yeah. He was trolling hard.
Okay, I must have missed it there. But I think that, and before we move on, I want to say I think RTV makes a good point. Don't forget about their tight end. Jared Cook has been around this league for forever.
Yeah, man.
I mean, absolutely forever.
Ageless wonder.
Yeah, he just always, what is this? His 15? And he's always good no matter where he goes. So watch out for Jared Cook too. Don't sleep on him. The guy can definitely ball out, no doubt about it.
But Glenn, let's now give our keys to the game from a defensive standpoint, and then our breakout players, and let's roll right into our over-unders and our predictions. I'm excited to do this. So why don't you give us our key to the game, your key to the game defensively?
Yeah, we already touched on it. It's tackle, tackle, tackle. Tackle. We cannot have a bunch of yak, whether it's by the running back, yards after contact, or any of the receivers and the receiving back in tight ends, yards after catch. We cannot see them guys just taking what's, should be a short gain and turn it into a long gain. We just can't have it. If you got a guy bottled up at the line of scrimmage, make the freaking tackle. I'm tired of seeing guys falling at the feet of offensive players and them getting just a few more, just a little more, because that all leads to first downs and that leads to touchdowns. Michael says Chuck Clark gets a pick 6 and a forced fumble.
Man, I hope you're right about that. I'll tell you what.
And it wouldn't necessarily shock me. I think Chuck Clark's probably been our most consistent defensive player this year. I mean, last game I didn't really see a ton of them, but every other game he's made at least one splash play. So yeah, shout out to Chuck Clark. Hope he continues to ball out. But yeah, my key is just tackling. You got to tackle. I think that's been the problem. The biggest problem all year is just tackling. If they can just tackle, there would be so many less first downs and so many less points on the board.
Yeah, no, I'm with you 100%. I think that's another great key. To add to that, Glenn, I think that while he's been lighting the league up now, Justin Herbert hasn't seen Wink Martindale. You know, the best teacher is what? Is experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can only simulate things so much. And so I think there's still an opportunity for our defense to catch him by surprise a few times And if those few times turn into turnovers, big changes in the game, momentum swinging plays, that's all it takes, right? So I think that my key is to find a way to confuse Justin Herbert. Not saying it will be easy, not saying he's easily confused, but I think that Wink has some things in his bag to surprise Justin Herbert. And I'll also say that my defensive breakout player of the game, I've picked him a couple times and he's been showing up, hasn't been getting home, but he's been showing up in pressures. I think he's leading the league in pressures right now. And that is Calais Campbell. He does have the highest win rate. The right side of their line is injured, pretty beat up. I think I know that their center is really good, but off of him, not great. Right tackle, not great. So I think that guard, Calais Campbell, can eat his lunch. And I'm expecting Calais Campbell to get Justin Herbert down on the ground and maybe get his hands on it, swat a ball or two. I think he'll have a big game. He's my breakout player, defensive player of the game. What about you?
Yeah, I got Deshaun Elliott. The Joker's coming back, and I think he's missed this field. He loves playing in these big games. This is a big game, no doubt about it. I think he was happy to see Stevens go in there and play admirably, but I saw him frustrated a few times on the sideline. Namely when the mossing happened, when Pittman Jr. just absolutely took a dump on Anthony Averett, and not only caught it, but then turned around and scored despite the penalty. I think that Deshaun Elliott's, he's excited to get back out there. I think he makes a play, maybe forces a fumble, gets his hands on a tip ball and turns it into an interception. But yeah, I like Deshaun Elliott to show out. Chase Brown says switch Bowser inside and put Queen outside. I've heard that a lot. And I think from an athletics, I could see why someone would say that. I don't think there's much of a chance that Pat Queen could hold up on the edges. I think if you imagine his 235-pound frame going up against a 265-pound tight end or a 300-pound tackle, it would be bad news bears. And while Bowser's definitely not necessarily an imposing force, that's not really what makes him great either. But I think he's a little bit better right there right now. And also Bowser has never played middle. So I think it's a little unrealistic, but I can see why someone would want, like, any change might be better because, at least in theory, Bowser is best in coverage and all that stuff.
Plenty athletic and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's a good in theory, but I don't think either
especially
one
midseason.
Is ready to take on a whole new position. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Skeptic Goat, glad to see you in here. Glad to see you
commenting
as well.
Comments.
That's right. So Ray Lewis, linebackers coach changed many times, still bald. That's on Queen. Absolutely true. I mean, you could have had me as Ray Lewis's coach and he was going to run through a wall and still make it to the Hall of Fame, right? So I think as far as Ray Lewis goes, he is an exception to the rule where he was going to be great no matter what. I mean, there was nothing getting in his way. That was everything that was inside him. But at the same time, I still agree with you that the onus isn't really on the coaches here. You gotta perform as a player. You can't turn around and say, I'm not playing good because my coach isn't coaching me. You're a professional, dude. You're a professional. You're getting paid.
Plus, Wink Martindale started as a linebacker coach. That's where he made it. So it's not like there's a shortage of linebacker coaches on this team. I mean, I don't think it's a coaching issue with him. I think it's a between the ears issue with him. And I don't know if you can teach a guy to play more physical. I mean, I think you can teach a guy to tackle better,
to relish,
exactly. Like this, he brought up Ray Lewis. Ray Lewis loved going to war every Sunday. He just absolutely loved the physicality. He loved everything about playing middle linebacker. I'm not so sure Pat Queen loves everything about playing middle linebacker.
Yeah, with you 100%. All right, so let's get to our competition here, Glenn. I'm excited for this one. So this is our over-under, guys. As you know, we have weekly winners that get a shirt sent to them. A few of you have shirts on the way. A few of you already received your shirts. Make sure to tag us on social media, with the shirts on. We like to see that. I think that's really cool and hope you guys are enjoying them. But as far as this week's over-unders go, what do we got, Glenn?
Yeah, so the first one I decided to go with is the Ravens need to get this rushing tech back on track, right? I mean, it's crazy to even think, but let's be honest, without Lamar Jackson, padding those numbers and doing what he does on the ground, the Ravens have been dreadful on the ground. I mean, absolutely horrible. I think they're averaging 2-point-something yards per carry as a running back unit. I mean, that is just so beyond bad. I mean, that's horrendous.
That's Justice Hill bad.
Yeah, I mean that's worse than Justice Hill.
That's
That's
saying
saying
something.
something. Yeah, so I think that while we can expect Lamar to continue to do his thing, can we count on any of the running backs to get something going? So to me, I've dropped it substantially. They're over under this week, but they're playing a team that's dead last in the league. They give up the most yards per carry. They give up the most yards thus far on the ground. So if there's any team, that the Ravens should be able to run against, it's this team. And obviously, they want to keep the ball in our offense's hands and out of Herbert. So let's see if they can get it going. I set the over-under total at 125 and a half. Jimbo, do they go over 125 and a half in this one?
We mash it this week, Glenn. We kill it. We're going over. Bet the house on it, Glenn. Okay, not legitimately, but yes, we're going over 125 for sure. I'm going over. What about you?
Yeah, I got them going over as well. I got to think they want to get back to the ground. I will say this. I don't think, at least this season, I don't see the Ravens even coming close to being back what they were last year or the year before as far as being such a run-first offense. I think those days are done, at least this year, until they get some of the guys back that, were injured in the offseason. Maybe next year they might return back to somewhat, go towards that style again. But I think the rest of this year, they're going to be a primarily passing team. Unless the defense is able to totally turn things around and they can go back to that ball control, I see them pat. But for this game, I think they go over the 125 total, but not by much.
Yeah, no, I think we mash it, but it'll be exciting. So shout out to Cakes Mitchell for this one. The next over-under is Rashad Bateman's receptions, 2.5 over-under. Glenn, where are you going?
I'm going to go under. And the only reason is I think he gets 2. I think it's close, but I just think that Hollywood's going to continue to do his thing, going to continue to put up big points. And I don't even think we put up, by the way, I don't think we set our breakout offensive player. I think we kind of skipped that during the hustle and bustle. But I'll say this, mine is Hollywood. I think Hollywood continues to show out.
A fun one.
I think, yeah, if that's the one I see on here, then you certainly have to explain yourself. But
sure.
But I think Bateman has a role. I just think they really want to take their time getting him involved. I don't think they want to risk at all the chance that he might get hurt, because right now they're seeing Sammy Watkins and they're going, well, we kind of expected this at some point, but those hamstrings can linger. So I think that they need to make sure they bring Bateman back slowly enough that he doesn't re-injure himself. So for that reason, I'll say under 2.5 receptions. What say you?
Yeah, and really quickly, guys, just because I didn't clarify, the way that you can participate in our over-unders is just take your notes and then submit them to us in a DM in any social media platform, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or once the video's over, put it in a comment of this video. And also, House, it's not 2.5 touchdowns, it's 2.5 receptions.
Yeah, just catches.
Yeah,
if he got 3 touchdowns, that would be sensational. If he got 2, if he got 1, I'd be happy.
Yeah, and my offensive breakout player this week, Glenn, is probably your least favorite Raven, who showed me something in the fourth quarter of that game. I'm going with the surprise factor here. Old number 33, Devontae Freeman. And this is what I learned, Glenn, that Devontae Freeman, outside of Lamar Jackson, is our most dangerous player right now in the open field. He can make guys miss relatively easy. Now,
hold on, out of the backfield, because Hollywood...
I still think in open field, Devontae Freeman is a more elusive player than Hollywood Brown. While Hollywood has been showing he's got it, I still think Devontae Freeman will break your ankle real quick. Now, what he's got to do, though, is we got to get him in the open field. We saw that in the fourth quarter. He's quite an asset. If you go back to those drives, he was helping us move the ball down the field effectively on that short stuff. So I think if we get him, we get him a couple outside runs and he gets some momentum downfield. They're the worst rushing running defense in the NFL. Get him some screen stuff. I think he can get moving. I think he's going to have a surprise game, breakout game for Devontae Freeman. It might be the only one of the season, but I'm taking Devontae Freeman.
I wouldn't even be shocked if he was inactive this week. Look, I mean, they gotta decide what to do with Lev Bell.
Surprise factor, baby. Surprise factor.
Well, you certainly hit that out of the park, because I would be shocked. I mean, I agree with you. He caught some balls out of the backfield. Look, first of all, it looks like he's a better pass catcher than running back, because I'm tired of seeing him dancing behind the line of scrimmage.
That's what I want.
Yeah, get him the ball, because it seemed like he was decisive. He put his foot in the dirt, make a move when they would get him the ball on the as a reception. But when they hand him the ball, he just dances too damn much for me. I can't get behind him. I'm with you. I mean, you were right, Jimmy. He's probably my least favorite Raven right now. But look, if he scores a touchdown or breaks a 40-yarder, then of course it'll all change and we'll
And you'll
rewrite
love him, of
history.
course. Yeah.
Exactly, absolutely. So, okay, let's get back to our over
Yeah.
unders. So,
Bateman, I'm going over. I think he gets 3 receptions.
okay,
I'm
so
going
not terribly
just
over,
No.
just barely.
Mm-mm.
Okay, so we're really only one off. I say 2, you say 3.
Right.
But I'm going to be right and you're going to be wrong. But moving on, defensively,
Yeah, what happened last week?
I live in the now.
1 out of 4.
I live
1
in
out
the
of
now,
4, bro.
Jimbo.
That's a
You keep
25%.
living life in the past. I move forward. Let me get my shades because my future is bright.
Oh, right.
Let me get my shades. But
Oh.
Austin Eckler, total yards, so receiving and rushing. I only took his average, but honestly, I think I might have been a little light here. And to me, this one's an easy one. I set it at 110 and a half yards because that's what he averages right now in the seasons. I think it's 80 on the ground, and like 30 through the air. I'm gonna say over until the Ravens can show. Look, this guy can do both. I mean, I'm worried about him in the ground, and I'm worried about him through the air. Some guys you worry about, just one part of it. I'm scared to death of Austin Eckler. So for me, I'm going to go over 110 and a half.
Yeah, I'm going over here. I have it listed as under, but yeah, I just haven't edited it. I'm totally going over. I feel very confident in that. So yeah, those are our offensive, or no, excuse me. We did our offensive one. That's our first defensive one. Our final defensive one is Ravens sacks. We have it set at 2.5.
Yeah. It's a big one because I think they got to disrupt Herbert, right? They got to confuse him. They got to keep him guessing, and they got to rattle him in the pocket.
Freaking Don C, dude. Do you see his cut? He's got me picking Snack Daddy as defensive player of the game, please. Oh, man.
I think eventually I might have to do it just to bother you, honestly. Not that I have any faith in him. I tend to agree with you in that category. I'm just not as hard on him as you are. But as far as sacks go, I think they have a game. I think that right side is vulnerable.
Yeah.
They the left side is going to be a tall task. They're going over Rashad Slater, who I think really surprised everyone with how good he's been this early in his career. He's already established himself as one of the top left tackles in the game. And then the center position is phenomenal for them. Lindsley, they paid him a bunch of money, and he's living up to the contract. But the right side, a lot of question marks on that right side. Michael Schofield, I think, is finding himself in the starting lineup somewhere along that line. We know what he was in Baltimore. He was a big old stinker of a player, and that's why he couldn't make the team.
Oh boy!
So I'm hopeful that they can get some pressure and get some sacks, and bring down Herbert's because the dude's talented.
Yeah, I'm going over as well for all the same exact reasons. I think we take advantage of the banged up right side and Michael Schofield himself. So like it. All right, let's go to
now. I switched it up a little bit, Jimbo. So I'm going to go first because I threw you a curveball. We've been putting the yards for the Ravens as our over under. We've been just taking we've been trying to guess at their total yards, and this time I'm going to switch it up, and we're going to guess at the Chargers total yards because. To me, I mean, the Chargers offense is the scariest one we've played yet. And that's including Jimbo, the Kansas City Chiefs. This offense scares me more because of the fact that they push the ball down the field so much. They're good at every single position on the offense, skill position wise. They're just really, really good. Even while you can say Kelsey's a better tight end, they don't have a bad one in Jared Cook. Yeah. And you might be able to convince me that Tyreek Hill might be a edge better than those two guys. Well, they don't have two guys that compare to the two that they got in LA. They just don't. Yeah. I mean, I'll take Mike Williams and Keenan Allen over Tyreek Hill and Byron Pringle and McCole Hardman. You give me the package, I'll take the two out of the Chargers, and you can keep the two from. So to me, this is the scariest team offensively that the Ravens have played yet. And just ask the Browns. They scored 42 points, had 500 yards, had no turnovers, and they lost. That's scary. That's how scary this freaking team is.
And that was a really good defense the Browns have too.
Yeah, that was the number one defense in the league when they played them.
Yeah.
So that's how good they are. So to me, I'm gonna say 430 yards is my guess, and I hope I'm completely wrong. I think this is a shootout game, but believe me, I hope I'm way off. I hope it's a 200 yarder, but right now I'm putting it 430.
So I'm putting it at 415, Glenn. This has to go with my score as well. I think it's going to be relatively low. I think that this is a game that a young quarterback comes in feeling prepared, feeling high on his horse. I think this team is feeling high on their horse. It's first year coach who's working through how to keep his team, keep his team even keel in the lows and in the highs. It's still something, if you haven't done it yet, you haven't been there. And so I think that might be a little too high and mighty. I think they come in, they get taught a thing or two by a more experienced coaching staff on a long road trip with a young quarterback with a beat up right side of the offensive line. I think they get 415. And I'm going to roll right into my wait, no, we have another one, right? Oh no, I'm going to roll right into my score.
Okay.
All right. So make sure you guys submit all of these. And of course, the most accurate person wins the shirt. I'm going 38 Ravens. Weird score here. 38 30.
38-30. Okay.
38-30. I think we win by more than a touchdown. And I think that the Chargers get knocked down a peg or two after this game.
Okay. Wow.
I
hope you're right about that.
I think what will come out, what will happen early is you will hear things from the announcers. Wow, the Chargers only have 75 passing yards and 42 rushing yards at the half, or something like that, where I think that we'll be able to take advantage of some things early and stifle them, keep those numbers down.
Okay. I certainly hope you're right. I see a comment in the comments here. The Rogers is asking how he can listen to the game since he's out of town. I think your best bet is to be on Facebook. If you can find these big groups, the one group I'm in, I know has a live streamer. It's Ravens Nation with brackets on each end of it. It's the biggest Ravens fan group on Facebook. It's got like 60,000 members, and one of the moderators there does live stream the game.
Well, and if you're looking to live stream, but if you're just looking to listen to it on the Ravens app, they stream the voice. They stream like Jerry Sandell.
The audio,
yeah. So they'll have the audio on the Ravens app, and then like Don said, you can use. What's the app? Is it iHeartRadio? You can get 98 Rock.
Odyssey, I think it is.
Odyssey.
Yeah.
That's what it is. You can do that too. So,
but and also check out. I think there's an app called Dofu Sports. I believe that's what a lot of people are using. A buddy of mine uses it and keeps track of all the games because he's a San Fran fan. And obviously doesn't get those games. So yeah, there's some options out there, but Facebook is the best one because then you can watch with a community of people who are all Ravens fans. So
there you go.
And then for my total score, I got the Ravens winning 35-31. I think they confuse Herbert early. I think the 10 a.m. start leads to the Chargers being a little bit sluggish, a little off, a little bit off in the beginning, and maybe they can steal a possession or two early. And then I think Wink can confuse them, and hopefully they can turn them over at some point. But the Ravens have to score. They have to score touchdowns. They have to keep up. And I'm confident the Ravens can do so. But it's only a 4-point win, Jimbo. So I got 35-31, 66 points in total.
Whew, well, guys, make sure you submit your guesses. Like I said, anywhere on social media, any platform you find us, DM us your answers, your over-unders, and your exact numbers for yards and score. And then also, or you can put it in the comments of this video after this video. That was a blast. I'm excited about this game. Let's go Ravens. We both picked them to win. I like you staying on the bandwagon this week, Glenn. Sticking to the courage of your conviction. Sticking to your britches is what you're doing.
Well, look, I think I've only picked us to lose one game, and it was the Chiefs game.
And I didn't forget.
I know, because you picked them, you son of a gun. But I don't see me picking against the Ravens for the remainder of the year. I mean, I'd have to look at it again, but I can't imagine a scenario in which I pick against them. They've just been too good. Lamar Jackson has just been too damn good to imagine him. I mean, at one point, Jimbo, last week, ESPN metrics had them at a 3% chance to win that game. 3%, Jimbo. And Lamar said, "So you're saying I got a chance?"
That's right. He took your 3%, threw it in the trash, and said, "Let's do this."
Exactly. No doubt about it. So let us know what you guys think. If you want to participate in the over-unders, again, wait for this video to be over. You can put them in the comments section, or you can DM us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, anywhere you can find us, and we'll absolutely put you in the competition. If you win, We'll simply announce that you're the winner on the recap show. We'll ask for you to then DM us your address and your shirt size, and we'll send that shirt out to you. Thanks for everyone who participated. Give a couple shout outs in the chat. Don C, always showing love.
I think with Don C, we'll have to start ending the shows now with our best.
I used to do that at the Ravens games. When I was tailgating all drunk, I would just walk around.
It sounds a little bit like a seagull.
I know. That's what everyone told me. And that's what I got, dude. That's what I do. So I appreciate Don C. always hyping up the likes. Troy, always out here with us. Tim Ott, I'm still saying that wrong. It's like a mental thing with me. I'm like, this is something special.
I thought it was right.
I don't even. The point is that I don't know if I'm right or not. But hopefully I was. Iman Thomas. That's right. Let's go Flock Nation. The Roger. Hope you can find that game. Again, just go for groups under Facebook. Find the biggest group, and you will absolutely see someone live streaming. Tanja Bowman. Let's go Ravens. Absolutely. Jimmy Kidwell. Appreciate you coming out. He says always getting another one this week, Jimbo. Make you a little more nervous.
Don't worry. You'll see this by the end of the season, right where it's at.
Okay. All right. Fabian, thanks for coming out and participating. Living Legend says, get a Fire Stick. Let somebody hack that thing, and you'll get everything. You'll get free movies. You'll get it all if you get. And you'll
get ransomware. All of it. Have it all.
Well. I know a guy who might be able to help you with that, right, Jimbo?
That's right. I can sell you a thing or two.
Sancho Mac, appreciate you coming out. Adam Whittington, appreciate you commenting. Anyone else I missed, appreciate your comments. If you just were a silent observer, thanks for watching. Be here certainly right after the game, every game. We live stream celebrating a win, or if you need some consoling after a tough loss, we will absolutely be here with you. And let us know what you guys think. Also, give us a prediction and a score in the comments section, and we will talk soon.